The biggest names in technology on Capitol Hill this morning talking with senators about the future of AI. Our team all over it, Emily Wilkins on the Senate side, talking to lawmakers. Eamon Javers speaking with tech leaders. And Eamon, let's start with you because you had a nice conversation with Elon Musk as he left the meeting. Eamon.
Yeah, that's right, Tyler. He was a little chatty as he left the meeting here. We're just outside the Russell Senate office building. This meeting is going to go on until about 5 o'clock, 5:30 this afternoon. A lot of those big names that you talked about have already left. We saw Bill Gates on his way out the door. We saw Sundar Pichai. We saw Mark Zuckerberg. None of them stopped and talked to us. But Elon Musk was in a bit of a chatty mood, I think. A little bit reflective, I would describe him as he came out of the meeting today. He called it historic as he stopped and talked to me. Here's what he said.
I think it was very civilized discussion, actually, among some of the smartest people in the world. So I thought Senator Schumer did a great service to humanity here. I think something good will come of this. I think this meeting may go down in history as being very important for the future of civilization.
You know, Musk also told me that he views AI as a different kind of issue than the typical thing you see on Capitol Hill because it impacts all of civilization potentially, in his view, with potentially dire consequences if AI gets out of control. So he was here very much to deliver that warning to the senators. We also got a word, guys, by the way, from Facebook's team. They gave us a readout of what Mark Zuckerberg said behind closed doors. And he apparently, according to Facebook's team, told some of the senators here about the importance of AI and also the importance of open source software in AI development, and that being a key. That's interesting because open source has been a little bit controversial because it can lead to bugs and malware being unintentionally or maybe maliciously slipped into some of the software. Zuckerberg, nonetheless, pushing for that piece as one of the bullet points that he delivered to the senators here, guys. So some of the big names here making some big points on Capitol Hill. Back over to you.
I'm not sure that Mr. Musk went into it with you in that sort of walk by. But what is he so concerned about? And do I infer from his concern that he welcomes some kind of regulation or some kind of governing body like the FCC or the FDA to supervise this?
Tyler, he does welcome it. He told me that when the CEOs were asked who favors regulation in this group, all of them raised their hands literally to say that they favored some kind of regulation. Now, the devil's always in the details on that. It really depends on what regulation you're talking about. Elon Musk told me, look, I deal with all the regulatory agencies here in Washington all the time. He said he was on his way over to the FAA right now to talk about aviation issues, which you can imagine for both Starlink and the SpaceX in general are going to be significant issues. So what he's talking about with civilization, though, is something much bigger than that. It's the idea of AI getting out of control, right? And if you have a consciousness or at least an intelligence that is greater than humanity itself, and it's tasking itself with things to do, you kind of worry in the Terminator scenario where that leads. Elon's been doing a lot of thinking about that and has been very vocal about that over the past several years. He clearly was telling that, giving that worldview anyway to the senators here today.
All right, Eamon, thank you very much. Eamon Javers.
You bet.
Now let's get to Emily Wilkins for the political side of today's meeting. And you heard how Elon Musk described it, Emily, very flattering to Chuck Schumer, saying this was a historical event.
And Kelly, you heard a lot of senators echo that talking point that what happened in the room right behind me was historic. A 3-hour hearing. They're now going to have another 3-hour meeting talking about tech, talking about policy, talking about AI. And when Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer exited the room to chat with reporters, he was very, very optimistic about what he had heard in the room and what consensus he got. Listen to what he told us.
We got some consensus on some things. First, I asked everyone in the room, is government needed to play a role in regulating AI? And every single person raised their hands, even though they had diverse views. So that gives us a message here that we have to try to act, as difficult as the process may be.
And there is disagreement, Kelly. Of course, not everyone is on the same page. They might be at a high level, but once you dig into the details, it is clear that there is a lot of debate. They agree that there needs to be regulation, but they don't agree on who needs to regulate, whether this needs to be a new agency, a current agency, a single agency, multi-agencies. That is still something that senators are very much discussing. And as Eamon alluded to, there was debate on whether AI should be open source. On one hand, it could lead to more innovation. On the other hand, there's concerns that AI models are pretty easily corrupted and that could wind up being a very negative thing. You have seen some early framework for legislation that has come out of the Senate. Senator Schumer put some forward. We've seen bipartisan efforts by Senator Josh Hawley and Richard Blumenthal. But really, everything right now is at the 30,000-foot level. And it's going to take a while to really get those details. Richard Blumenthal said he hopes to have a draft legislation by the end of the year. That could put actually passing legislation well into 2024. And then, of course, you're running up against the election.
So we have a little bit of a transmission delay here, Emily, but let me ask you this. This was a meeting convened by Majority Leader Schumer. Were there GOP members in the room? Was it the whole Senate? Who was there from the Senate?
So there were Republicans in the room. It was bipartisan. All senators were invited. Schumer has convened the small bipartisan group. It's him, Senator Rounds from South Dakota, as well as Senator Heinrich, Senator Todd Young, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. And it was Schumer and Rounds who really led a lot of the questions today. And Schumer and Rounds both said anything the Senate does on AI, it has to be bipartisan. Even if that means that they can't get a bigger bill done, they need to move in lockstep on an issue as important as this.
All right, Emily, thank you very much. We appreciate that.